Hey, good morning, guys. So we all know how Trump was out here, right, pardoning all of his little election denier, right, top level cronies. But I couldn't figure out why, because I was like, well, presidential pardons only apply to federal crimes, right? So I was like, so why pardon them, right? Because their offenses were at the state level. Y'all, I could not stop thinking about it yesterday. It's actually why I wasn't filming yesterday. If you want to hear, this is my working theory, okay, about why I think he pardoned them and what is coming next, pour yourself some coffee, come back, because y'all, this is a wild ride. So if you fantasize about Trump spending the rest of his life behind bars, you are really going to enjoy this video. Because this is the only actual way that it could still happen. I didn't even realize it was still in play. Up the train up for a minute. So if you guys remember the case in Georgia, right, where Trump was calling and he was asking like, oh, I need you to find this many votes, whatever. Okay. Did you guys realize that they're still attempting to prosecute that case? Because I didn't. On Friday the 14th at 12 noon Eastern, all right, the judge Scott McAfee, so basically the people who were spearheading the trial before against Trump, the lead lawyer got caught in some personal nonsense drama, whatever. Anyway, so basically she had to be excused from the case. And no one has appointed a new prosecutor, okay? So at noon on Friday, this Friday the 14th in Georgia, they have to either appoint a new prosecutor, okay, or it basically gets dismissed because the state of Georgia failed to prosecute it. Did y'all know about this? And guys, this isn't a procedural matter. If they don't appoint somebody, which I'm sure they will, then Trump's team will literally file a petition to have that moved. And that case, when it is tried, he's going to get convicted because it's pretty airtight. And that would mean a lifelong prison sentence for Trump, whatever that is, so like 30 seconds, after the end of his term. Stay with me, guys, because this is it's wild, but it is 100, you can see that 100%, like that's what's happening. So while this deadline is ticking down in the background, nobody's paying attention to that, right? But what does Trump do? He pardons like 70 people. And at the outset, it's red meat to the base, right? Oh, he's pardoning them so that he could basically say, oh, look, they're patriots. And if you basically break the law on my behalf, in my name, I'm going to pardon you. So yes, that's true. But there's a bigger angle here. You have to remember that the president's pardon power only applies to federal level crimes, right? State, you can still charge at the state level, okay? So all those people that he just basically pardoned, they were not guilty of federal level crimes. So here's my working theory. I think that Trump is setting a trap. A constitutional stress test, if you will. And let me remind you that this is not all pie in the sky, because Trump's team this whole time has been trying to get, that little immunity deal that SCOTUS made for him? They've been trying to get the state of Georgia to say that, yeah, that Supreme Court level immunity deal applies to state level cases. And everybody in Georgia is like, no, it doesn't. So he's going to pardon these people, right? And then he's going to try to force these state level prosecutors. Again, this is my working theory. Put a pin in it, save it, come back in 6 months and tell me if I'm right, okay? And then he's going to try to wipe away their state level charges. Why? Because we all know Trump doesn't do anything if it doesn't serve himself. Because he's going to use it as a way to get this case before the Supreme Court so that he can expand his presidential powers to apply to state level crimes. Stay with me. Because if he can say, well, the crimes actually reached across state lines, right, to the federal level because they affected the federal elections, then it's within my scope, right, that you can pardon people. So guys, this Georgia case that's pending against Trump, okay, this is 13 counts. These are RICO charges. This is big bad boy time. I have a ton of proof, not the least of which is that phone call, the one with Raffensperger. I'm guessing that Trump's legal team, because they are schmarmy and they try to exploit every little loophole, they're going to say, so go back to the Supreme Court, the little pardon for a second. In Trump v. United States, the Supreme Court said that Trump had presumptive immunity for official acts at the federal level. So these pardons, which seemed somewhat random and came out of nowhere, now when you're looking at the deadline, right, for November 14th, you go, oh, okay, I see the play. Because obviously they're opening the game, right? A bigger constitutional challenge because of what the Supreme Court did with the presumptive immunity, right? That means that the state prosecutors, whoever replaces Fani Willis, that was the woman I was talking about that basically got kicked off the case, she or he are going to have to argue that presidential power stops at the state line. This is literally the kind of case that Trump's legal team is drooling to get in front of the Supreme Court. And this is why we need to be keeping our eyes in Georgia, okay? Because the person who's set to make the appointment for the new prosecutor, his name is Pete, like Scandalakis. a former Republican DA, right? So if he doesn't appoint someone by the timeline, Trump's team is going to file and say, you missed your window for prosecution. And if he does appoint somebody, he can appoint somebody who slow walks the case. Okay, so now let's connect the dots. By pardoning his election denier allies, Trump is obviously testing how far his power can go. It's a loyalty play for the base, and it makes the states challenge the pardon. Because if the states fight and they go to court to say that those pardons don't apply to these state charges, I'm talking about for the 70 plus people that he pardoned, and the pardons go unchallenged, then it becomes precedent by default. So guys, I don't want to muddy the waters, let me be clear. If somebody who was Trump aligned appoints someone who slow walks the case, it gives Trump's team time to get these cases in front of the Supreme Court to extend his presidential immunity. Why does that matter? Well, flash forward. When Trump is done with his term, whoever comes next, probably if it's J.D. Vance, the heir apparent, if he is able to get elected, then obviously he is going to pardon Trump. He already has presidential immunity for the federal level stuff, and this would extend his power to the state level, meaning that the only shot that anybody had at prosecuting Trump and making him serve jail time would get pardoned. Oh, it's also a nice dog whistle to ICE and the rest of the base, right? Telling them that basically like, hey, as long as you're doing whatever you're doing for Trump, I got your back at the federal and the state level. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think this is going to happen? I'll be interested to see what you think.